Oh, well, good morning, everybody. It looks like we're going to have a full session this morning, which is great. Must be because the sun is shining where I am. So I'd be interested to know where you are actually. Why don't you put down what town or city you're in and into the chat so that I know what I'm dealing with here. I find myself in Parparam Beach delivering today's webinar. If it's the first time you've joined our webinars, welcome along. But very interesting to find out how you discovered us. If you already know the webinar series that we do, which you can easily have access to on a monthly basis, then you know what to expect if it's me telling you what today's subject is. I'll get to today's subject briefly. Oh, we're getting a good turnout today, actually. That's great. Really appreciate you guys coming along today and giving up some valuable time of your working day. I know from bitter experience how demanding property management is. So for you property managers out there, keep doing a damn good job. I've got a session today which I hope will not only change your minds about the property management role, the job that you do, but it will also allow you to make your clients and your tenants even more informed about what you do for them. Because I know that we've had, I've been asked several times, oh, you're a property manager. Do you just take a cut of the rent and it's easy, you know, or the classic one that people say, oh, I've done property management. And you kind of go, really? You looked after your auntie's house in Whangarei? Yeah, that's not property management. That's just, you know, keeping the windows clean. There are, as you already know, a lot of ins and outs and snags and a lot of traps for young players in the property management industry. And as a property manager, your job is to deal with those issues, whether they be physical or just situational, and you have to resolve these situations. And to do that, you have to wear many hats, or you have to adopt many roles, different roles. And those roles obviously are cheaper if they're done by you. So I'll explain that at the very end. I'm going to give you a very brief bit of basic arithmetic to show you how valuable you are to your client owners. And it's a wee bit of an eye-opener. So today, 41 professions that your property manager or that you do on your client owner's behalf. There's actually more than 41, so I've kept this down to a dull roar because we could be here for some time. So how did I evolve this list? Just briefly, I'm going back to my early days in the property management game when two of us were in the office kneeling on the floor with piles of paper dotted around in front of us and a big fan of documents and photographs all printed off, and the printer in the background chugging away, copying everything. And we just looked at each other and thought, you know, this is like being a lawyer, but we're not getting paid a lawyer's rate. And it got me thinking, and we ended up having a big discussion, and we came up with a list of more than 41 professions. So let's get started. 41 professions that you cover on your client owner's behalf. First one, obvious as anything, a lawyer. How much does a lawyer cost? Well, cheap lawyers, $200 an hour. A general working lawyer will very rarely have dealings with the Residential Tenancies Act because it's pretty minor stuff. And so when somebody says, I'm going to my lawyer, wish them good luck, their lawyer will charge them $200 and won't know anything about the RTA. You, as a property manager, administer the RTA every day, and you're saving your client $200 an hour. Think about that. In the same vein, an accountant, you also act as an accountant for your owner. You have to keep records, comprehensive records that are auditable and available, and you have to keep them by law in storage for up to 7 years. A good accountant will cost you $150 an hour. it's probably money well spent if you've got a large corporation, but if you're looking after one rental, you don't need a professional accountant. That's what your property manager's for. Following on from that, an archivist or a record keeper is a service that some companies offer, whereby you store all the records and have them locked away safely so that you can refer to them if need be, or if the IRD wants to find out the mechanics of your client owner's rental over the last 4 or 5 years. An archivist or a record keeper will cost you $40 an hour, but you do it built into your fees. Isn't that nice? A building inspector. So many times we've had, or I've had owners get onto me because they've had their builder do some work and they need an inspector to go and have a look at it and make sure it's safe. Or there's been an earthquake, and this has happened to me. We had an earthquake. Surprise, surprise, we live in Wellington. And I had several owners after the last big earthquake got in touch with us the very next morning. First thing, is my rental okay? And we said, we're kind of taking care of real emergencies here. We're looking after our people and our family, and later on in the week we'll get to all the rentals. But yeah, a lot of owners just expect you to be a building inspector and identify that there's a problem with the water tank leaking and has been for 5 years, but you're not a building inspector. Good one here, financial consultant. You would easily pay $100 an hour for good advice from a financial consultant. But some people will say, do you think I should buy this property over here, or should I, what is the best suburb for me to buy in? And you're not a financial consultant. You can't possibly tell people or explain to people about ownership structures and anything to do with the finances of getting mortgages or raising loans, excuse me, for rental properties, because you're not qualified as a financial consultant, but sometimes you are asked to act like one. Well, yeah, $100 an hour for a financial consultant is cheap. Tax advisor, which kind of falls in with the financial consultant. What's the best way to minimize my tax expenditure? Well, there are rules and regulations about that. And as a property manager, you're not qualified to advise somebody professionally on that. So you want to steer clear of that. But you quite often have to be dealing with IRD issues and dealing with a client. A family trust auditor. Now, family trusts are an interesting thing. They seem to be possibly lessening in New Zealand. I think we may be the only country that has family trusts that you can own a rental under just as an individual. Most people either own their property under their own name or they own it in a company name, and some have it in a family trust. Advising on family trusts, highly specialized, very expensive, $150 an hour. My guy charges for that. So yeah, don't enter into a discussion on financial matters like that because you're not qualified for it, but you will get asked. The classic, a handyman. I don't know how much you pay for your handyman, but a cheap handyman, oh boy, 40, 50 bucks an hour, but really cheap. Owners, I've had many owners say, why have you charged me to have your plumber go out and fix a tap washer? You buy a tap washer for 10 cents and it's a 5-minute job. It's because if you do that and you get it wrong and the place gets flooded, your insurance won't pay out. So this is why, as a property manager, you need to have tradespeople that are mobile and available to go and do the work that you need them to do, rather than skipping around with a little toolbox in your car and doing little ditzy jobs. Though those can turn into big jobs and cost a lot of money. That's worth $40 to $50 an hour just to get a professional in to do a small job like that. And I have learned the hard way trying to do my own maintenance and finding out that I'm not as capable as I thought I was. Mediator. Sometimes you'll end up having some pretty hot discussions with tenants over their rent or their treatment of the property, and owners who might be in the conversation at the same time, and you're piggy in the middle trying to keep both sides to be balanced. Mediator, again, very cheap, $40 an hour, but that's more than a property manager gets paid. Cash flow analysts. This kind of falls into the accountancy area, but sometimes you'll have an owner that says that I want a copy of all the statements for all the properties and all the receipts and invoices for the last 5 years for my accountant, and you have to be able to provide that. A cash flow analyst is getting down to the nitty gritty, and where an owner's expectation is that rents should be higher, and you know that rents aren't going any higher, and that seems to be happening right now. A cash flow analyst can easily cost you $100 an hour. So you're saving your client owners that charge. A banker, and this sounds pretty obvious, but a banker, being the banker for your client owners, basically means that you have a tremendous amount of other people's money sitting in a bank account that you control. And you had better be able to control it really well, really tightly. Because if it goes wrong, it's going to cost a lot of people a lot of money. But as the banker of your client owners' properties and rent payments, you are tasked with handling that money and dispersing it at the right time. And you can't be 1 cent out of balance, or you're carrying a problem forward every month. An answering and message service, and I've got this down here at $20 an hour, which strikes me as remarkably cheap. But yeah, you often have owners saying, can you pass on to the tenant that we're coming by on Saturday morning at 5 a.m. to build a small low retaining wall? And messages from the tenant coming back through you so you're just an answering service at some point. And again, cheap, $20 an hour, but you're saving your client owners that money. A project manager. This is a big one. I have often been asked when we've had a property that's had to have, let's say, a chimney taken down, or it's had to have all the windows replaced. Those are examples from direct experience. And an owner will say, oh, my builder's going to do that, but I need you to project manage it. How much do you charge? And it's your choice. If you like doing project management work, 80 to $100 an hour easily for somebody to just turn up and check on the work. That's a pretty fair price. You can do that for your owners and save them that money. Advertising copywriter. Now, with the advent of artificial intelligence, you now have the choice to write artificial adverts for your properties. An advertising copywriter who can write good copy for adverts online on Trade Me and the other platforms that are available is worth their weight in gold. You should know how to be able to write good adverts already, better than your owners can. And often your owners will give you input to it as well. Try not to rely 100% on AI, because it is fallible. It does make things up, and it can cause you issues. So make sure it comes from your brain, not from your computer. Alongside advertising copywriter, of course, is photographer. And yeah, again, some owners seem to think that you're able to take a wide angle photograph of the inside of a property and turn out some beautiful color photographs for your advertising campaign. And there are lots of services that allow you to turn out really good quality photographs and even walkthroughs and videos. So if you're not already using those services, go and plug them in, because that's added value again for your client owner. An insurance consultant, and this can be a nuggety one, because you can't really give advice on insurance, but you'll quite often be asked, can we claim on the insurance for the scratch on the bench top? Well, probably not. You can't really represent the insurance industry accurately if you're not trained as an insurance provider. So leave that to the professionals. An insurance consultant will probably charge you $100 an hour. this is a very general one, but we all have so many examples of this. A trades professional. So that's a plumber, a glazier, drain layer, a joiner, door hanger, a curtain maker, etc. So many professions that trades that you deal with on a weekly, almost a daily basis. When I was working in Wellington as a property manager, the trades that I used were the electrician and the plumber. Most things were much less frequent. It was the plumber and the electrician every week. They'd have several bits of work to do, ongoing all the time. Some owners think that you can do that. You can actually change that light bulb in the really high ceilinged hallway. You can't. You have to know what your limitations are, and you've got to look after yourself as well. And talking of looking after yourself, it's not just your physical self, but your mental self. A psychologist is sometimes what you're called upon to be, because quite often you have to cope with the imbalances of tenants, the incomprehensible regulations of the local council and government. Sometimes they're bewildering rules, and sometimes even the unpredictable actions of owners and trades suppliers. I have had some very animated discussions with owners who couldn't understand why they couldn't enter their rental property without telling anybody while there's a tenant living in there. They saw it as their property. So you have to deal with that way of thinking and making sure that they are thinking straight. Favorite one, police officer. I have had dealings with the police on many occasions. We've had some cryptic phone calls from tenants saying the police have been round, what's going on. I've had to deal with potential assault issues. I've been threatened. I've had to act as a witness for an owner against a tenant, which dealt with property damage. And of course, the usual theft and drugs issues that can come up as well. So quite often, for $80 an hour, you can get a police officer. Well, it's a lot less if you have a property manager that knows what they're doing. A cleaner is the next one. How many of you have cleaned a toilet bowl when you've got a vacant property and you're trying to advertise it, make it look its best, and you've taken your spray can and your microfiber cloth and you've cleaned the toilet? It's not a lovely job to do. I've done it myself many times. I've actually hosed shit off an owner's property off the front wall, which was thrown there by a disgruntled tenant on a Saturday morning, my day off. I've cleaned out a couple of properties from when they've been trashed by tenants, and I think the most recent one, somebody had left an entire 2-bedroom flat full of stuff and disappeared, ghosted, gone, and we had to dispose of all that. So you're cleaning up somebody else's mess. A cleaner, $20 an hour, probably more now. At $35 an hour, you can be a relationship manager and mediate between warring partners. I think I had a particularly acrimonious divorce case with one of my clients and his wife, who both owned a house, and they wouldn't talk to each other. I had to mediate the discussion to make sure that we could make headway so that the tenant knew where they stood. So a relationship manager and giving somebody advice on that, I don't know if I'm particularly qualified for it, but that's something that should be handled by somebody that gets paid to do it and paid a fair rate. I think $35 an hour is pretty low. A marketing consultant. Again, you've probably been asked by owners, what's the best way to market the property? Can we put 5 adverts up on Trade Me, all for the same property so that we get a wider audience? No, that's not how it works. You as a marketing consultant should know the best ways to present a particular property, be it with photographs or video or going on different platforms and avoiding other platforms. That's your expertise. And that's built into your job and into the fees that your client owner pays. So being a marketing consultant, you're saving them $100 an hour easily. Another service that is very valuable to your client owners is a personal assistant, a PA, dealing with constant requests for contact from somebody, updates and holding hands when things are not going well, like rent has gone into arrears. You have to communicate and arrange for things to be done around a particular situation. So being a personal assistant is quite an important role. And folding into that is legal secretary, which is kind of the same as being a lawyer, but it's cheaper. A legal secretary is about $50 or $60 an hour, not the $200 that a lawyer would charge. But neither of them know much about the RTA, so that's your job. A transport manager. I think on one memorable occasion, I rather nicely volunteered to pick up a potential new client at Wellington Airport. And I said, so where's your property that we're going to? And it was in Paikakariki. So that was a long day drive north of Wellington. And I took them back to the centre of town and dropped them at a very nice restaurant and said, look forward to hearing from you. Never heard from them again. Damn. So yeah, quite often you're picking up things like a washing machine from Harvey Norman's and delivering it so that the plumber can install it, or as I said, collecting owners from the airport or meeting them at their hotel and taking them around the rentals. Next one for you is, it might sound odd to your ear, a bot ledger administrator. So that's really the accounts department. It's making sure that all invoices are processed properly, that everybody gets paid, that the owner's account gets charged for that. That's a job for a sort of a junior accountant that would probably charge $50 an hour. You do that. You provide that service within your fees. Another one that's similar to a transport manager is delivery driver. Sometimes you get some almost unreasonable requests to go and pick up stuff for people. I think I once picked up an edge-bound carpet for an owner who was in Cannons Creek, and she asked me to go and pick it up and take it to the vacant rental that we were looking after. And as soon as the carpet was put down, the locals decided to break into the house and take the carpet, along with the kettle and the other stuff that she'd provided. So a delivery driver sometimes has its rewards, but in this example, it wasn't rewarding at all. An odd one for you at about $50 an hour is a window treatment consultant. I have been asked, what's the best color of curtains I should have in this room, or should I have roller blinds or Roman blinds? Should I use Venetian blinds in the kitchen? Or so, and they're looking for input from you. I would direct them to a window treatments consultant, but if you feel able to advise somebody, go for it. But if you get it wrong, it's going to backfire on you. Interior decorator, you're often asked, again, to do with curtains, you're asked, oh, what's the best color to paint my rental? Should I do a feature wall? Should I paint the outside dark brown? If you could obviously venture your opinion, but I would tend to steer clear of that and point somebody in the direction of a color consultant. My big favorite, a debt collection agency, because you are a debt collection agency, and you must have had examples of owners who said, why are they not paying the rent? And what are you doing about it? It's a process and it takes a while. And if you are not doing it regularly, it can take a long time and you can be hugely unsuccessful. Whereas if you use a debt collection service, you'll nail it on the head, but you'll pay $60 an hour to have somebody do that for you. One of my favorites at $60 an hour, which I don't think I would consider a huge expense, is a property market commentator. We often got calls, random calls from people who would say, I'm looking at buying a rental property. How should I structure things? What should I do? What's the best suburb to be in? Which way are my rents going? Are they going up? Are they going down? Are they going sideways? They'll pick your brains forever and a day. And if you've got some good answers for them, they'll appreciate it. But you best to keep your opinions to yourself when you're dealing with a potential or a new client owner. You should always be able to help them with what's going on in your part of the market with rents. Our rents, like I say, up, down, sideways. You should also point them in the direction of Facebook or places like Reddit where you can find out what the conversation is online about where rents are going at the moment. A security consultant is the next one, $80 an hour. I think that would be a fair rate. You'll often be asked about door and window locks, window stays, fitting sensor lights, and don't get your toolkit out and fix the sensor lights for them. Get an electrician to do it. Alarm systems as well. You quite often be asked to advise on alarm systems, and there's so many and varied that you're going to work hard to be able to give your owner client good information on that. Point them to a security consultant, and that's a good thing. A marriage guidance consultant, kind of similar to a relationship manager. I have dealt with some bitter and acrimonious divorces, none of them mine. I have witnessed a client's marriage crumbling in front of me, which was rather disheartening. But yeah, I have been asked, what should I tell my husband? Trust account auditor. So you as a property manager or working for a property management company should have a commercial trust account in which you hold all the rents. That's hopefully at some stage, if the government gets their act together, is going to become the law. And you have to get rent payments made into an auditable non-interest or fee-bearing account that is you're able to pass through your accountant. A trust account auditor will need to know what all the rents are have been paid, and the statements, the monthly statements, and the end of year statement, which is also very important. You provide that quite simply from your software that you use, be it Palace or any service like that. So you're saving $50 an hour of your client's money. This one I've been involved with before, $100 an hour, I'm going to guess at for a forensic accountant. I think I can think of 2 cases where we've had to troll through endless information to put together the information that a client owner has needed for a court case. And you have to track all the invoices and receipts to do with everything to do with your client owner's rental properties. And you've got to do it without fail. You can't skip a day and catch up. Statistical analyst, somebody that would probably cost you $80 an hour. You're always expected to know how property investment percentages and numbers stack up. How do you calculate what rent's coming in and what expenses are going out? And you should be able to analyze and comment on, this is again the state of the market, to do with the stats for that. You should be able to know what the average rent is and which direction rents are moving in. So we're getting close to the finish line on this, and then I've got a bit of interesting arithmetic for you. $150 an hour for a private investigator. I have had a client use a private investigator once, and it was an interesting experience, and I actually can't discuss the specifics, but she worked hard for her $150 an hour. You are expected to dig up all sorts of information about applicants to rent your client owner's property, background checks and credit checks on potential tenants, and owners and tradespeople. You want your tradespeople to be signed up to an agreement that they will represent your company properly and in a good light when they're working on your behalf. So if you're doing private investigating background work, you're saving your client $150 an hour. Second to last, the penultimate, $100 an hour, I suspect that's probably very conservative, is an engineering report interpreter. So some owners will have architect design work done for their property or compliance with the earthquake regulations. I've had that myself with a place in Wellington where we had to have the basement dug out and a concrete support wall and built into a property. And I had to understand what the engineering report was saying and what the architect was drawing for us so that we could grasp the scope of the work. So that's a huge profession, engineering report interpreter. You're saving your client that kind of money. Bailiff's assistant is the last one. I've done that twice. I've actually turned out to a bailiff's meeting, helping the district court bailiffs to remove furniture from a delinquent tenant's house. I think on one occasion, the bailiff took the tenant's belongings out of the house, and the tenant just said, put them on the front lawn and we'll come and collect them later. And when they went back to collect their furniture, it was all gone because somebody had put it out, the bailiffs had put it out on the front lawn. Nightmare scenario. But if you've ever done any bailiff support work, it's entertaining. So there you go, 41 professions. You do a lot of stuff, don't you? And I'm wondering if any of that made you think, oh, I haven't come across that yet. You probably will if you stick around long enough. So let's look at this whole thing, just to wrap it up. Let's look at this from the perspective of your client owner. And many of you will have had client owners who say, how much do you charge? And you tell them what your fee is. And they go, oh, you're way too expensive. You've priced yourself out the market. No, the guy down the road's 2% cheaper than you. And you go, well, yeah, where do you get that we're too expensive? So let me give you basic arithmetic. This is real simple arithmetic. As a property manager, looking after each of your client owners' properties, you are available to them and to their tenants if something comes up. And so it would be fair to say that for, let's say 12 hours a day, you are available to solve problems, and you're looking after the rent payments coming in, and any work that's being done on the place is completed, and invoices are paid, and you're dispersing at the end of the month. So you're available 12 hours a day, and that's 7 days a week. So that's 84 hours a week. You are keeping an eye on every owner's property. If your average rent where your rentals are is $500 a week, and you charge a 10% management fee, all inclusive, 10%, that means that your company or you is making $50 a week to provide that service. If you divide $50 per week by 84 hours of availability, that's just under 60 cents per hour. That's what you cost for an owner to engage you as a property manager. It's 60 cents an hour. That might change your mind when you think about somebody who says you're too expensive. I can't afford that. You charge too much. Can you do me a discount? Can you reduce your fee if I come with your company? No, because 60 cents per hour doesn't even buy you a cup of coffee. It would take you a while to get your cup of coffee. So if you want a copy of that calculation, flick us an email and we will send out the information about all the professions that you cover for your client owners every day, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. And good on you for sticking at it. It's a rewarding profession. So that's our session for today. Next webinar is in July. Keep an eye on the website, and you'll get an email from us when we just start the registrations for next month. You can also access the previous webinars by going on our website, and you'll find the page on the rpma.org.nz website, and you can watch me and many other people teaching you stuff that should help you make your job a whole lot better. So thanks for coming along today. Appreciate you being here, and enjoy the rest of the day.